You're watching Channel 8. And now, people you can count on. This is Channel 8's Eyewitness News.
After 10 years at UNLV, President Maxson is packing his bags and heading to California. We'll have reaction.
And is there too much violence on television? The National Association of Broadcasters thinks so, and they're taking a hard look at it. Good evening, I'm Tom Warden. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Paula Francis. Gary has the night off. Topping our news this evening, people in a North Las Vegas neighborhood took a stand against crime and won. They live in the once notorious Donna Street area. Bob McNaney shows us how it has changed.
North Las Vegas officers Brad Walch and Joe Cronister are heading into the Donna Street neighborhood. For years, it was one of the worst parts of town, but not anymore.
This is the substation.
The substation was opened back in 1989. The people living here have gotten to know and, more importantly, trust the officers. Citizens turn in crooks instead of turning their backs on crime.
You wouldn't go over there by yourself as a police officer. You'd always take a backup with you, and you would be very conscious of what's going on around you. And it's gone now where it's just the kids play out after dark in the park areas, the older folks that are out in front of their apartments, and it's relatively very quiet.
Just how quiet? Well, back in 1989, police responded to 20 calls on a typical 10-hour shift. Now that number is down to 2 or 3 calls. Not only are the good guys trusting the officers, so too are the suspects.
Rather than turn himself in to the detectives or somebody, he called somebody he knew, and that was us. And we was able to make arrangements with him for him to turn himself in to us the next day.
No, if they run or hide, it's going to be because they see a camera.
They're not just, okay, we got it back, we're going to keep it. They're going ahead and they're progressing. You know, they got flowers planted. They've got different plans of what they're going to do to keep the area the way it is.
There's a school in this neighborhood that has a mural on it, and it says, if it's meant to be, well, it's up to me. And you could say that that's the credo that this community has adopted when it comes to community policing. Bob McNaney, Eyewitness News 8.
North Las Vegas police say the Donna Street neighborhood still has problems, but here's one example of how things have changed. While shooting this story, kids were seen playing wearing red shirts, and Bob had a red tie on. Officers say a few years ago, gangs would have seen red as rival gang colors and probably would have shot at the children and maybe Bob, but not now.
Well, broadcasters from all over the country are in town checking out the latest in high-tech TV magic. But the National Association is also taking a hard look at violence on television. It's an issue many parents are dealing with as well. Jana Dixon censors what her children watch and makes sure that they know that even the cartoon violence they see is make-believe. But many kids don't get this kind of supervision. This movie was to be aired at 9:30 at night. One scene shows a man's heart being ripped out. Too gross to show here.
You really have to be selective, and you have to voice your opinion and say, I'm not going to watch it anymore.
Jana knows this is a complex issue, but she would like to see warnings or ratings on all programming. Many parents think a rating system would at least give parents a head start on heading off violent television. Incidentally, leaders in the broadcast industry say there have been 90 surveys done on whether TV violence really does affect children. Only 1/3 of them concluded that it does. Well, violence in video games is also drawing some criticism, enough so that the government is considering a rating system there too. Video games with names such as Mortal Kombat, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Street Fighter are just a few that show graphic killing scenes. In a recent survey done by Consumer Reports for kids, some youngsters said they did not mind the violence. Playing the game let them release pent-up anger, and they realize it's only make-believe. But other children said that they're concerned and said that there should be a rating system.
UNLV President Robert Maxson announced today he's taking the job as president at Long Beach State University. The announcement of his new job came this afternoon at a news conference in Long Beach. Maxson's move may mean a new beginning at UNLV, which has been split by the conflict between him and former Rebel basketball coach Jerry Tarkanian. Robert Maxson came to UNLV in 1984, promising that academics would be a priority. Today, he said he'd bring that same philosophy to his new post.
I think he's taken it from what they used to kid about, tumbleweed, to a nice university right now. And I think that's a credit to him. He stayed on the job. He's worked hard on the job. He's been criticized a lot for basically that athletic side of it. But I think other than that, he's been an outstanding, hard-working president.
I had a passion for that place. My life was totally consumed with UNLV and building that university, and I intend to bring that same passion and same commitment and same energy level to Cal State Long Beach.
Maxson's many accomplishments at UNLV were often overshadowed by his run-ins with the Rebel basketball program. Devoted Jerry Tarkanian supporters accused Maxson of heading a conspiracy to oust the coach. The battle between the two men and their supporters left a bitter taste for many of the students we talked to on campus today.
I know it was time for him to move on. I think the community was real torn between whether they wanted him to stay or leave town.
I think we can use a change of blood, so to speak. I mean, a fresh look at what we're doing here.
We need to start over, and we need to get back to our basketball program and back to the students. I think Maxson didn't pay attention to us.
It seems like it'd be a good healing process for the university to have him go on and let the healing process begin.
Ironically, Bob Maxson is going to the same school that Jerry Tarkanian left back in 1973 to come here and coach the Rebel basketball team. We tried to reach Tarkanian for his reaction today, but he is in Florida.
Well, still to come on Eyewitness News at 11, a horrible military crash in North Carolina kills more than a dozen and injures many more. We'll tell you about it.
Plus, American troops and equipment are heading to South Korea. We'll tell you how